carrying a large amount of explosives, arrives near a passage in Alaska. Unexpectedly, the explosion lures out the underground ice giant, but it's a step too late. The explosion in the tunnel triggers an even more violent blast, and when calm returns, the gamma radiation in the tunnel vanishes. Meanwhile, Tim takes Kate and her companions to Monarch's headquarters. He explains their family's complicated relationship with Monarch. After the death of Kate's grandmother Keiko, the remaining two became more deeply involved, dedicating themselves to proving theories of teleportation and wormholes. This is their legacy. Monarch has outposts around the world. Recently, gamma radiation detected at these outposts before the San Francisco incident has been observed again in Alaska and North Africa, all places Hiroshi visited. Tim is unsure if Hiroshi was predicting the monster's routes or tracking them. However, Lee and his team recently caused a massive explosion in Alaska, reducing the gamma radiation there to zero. Yet, the levels have skyrocketed in several other areas, although Lee's intentions are unclear. Another explosion could raise gamma radiation levels beyond those of the San Francisco event, potentially leading to a repeat of the monstrous battle. Lee has been following Hiroshi's planned route, so Monarch needs to know his next destination to stop him in time. However, they've parted ways with Lee, and the map left by Hiroshi was taken by him. As they speculate on Lee's destination, he and his team have already arrived at an abandoned nuclear power plant in Kazakhstan where Keiko was devoured by a monster. At Monarch's headquarters, Kate and others, while searching for clues, find an accident report from her grandmother's time, revealing the site as another location on Hiroshi's map with surging gamma radiation levels. Kate recalls Lee's wish for them to join him in completing this mission. Perhaps Kazakhstan, where Keiko was lost, is Lee's next target. Tim suggests they head there together. They drive to the Kazakhstan nuclear power plant and find signs of an explosion on its exterior walls. Tim speaks of the site's strangeness. Normally, it would be uninhabitable for 1,000 years after a nuclear leak, but now the radiation seems to have been absorbed by something. Tim was startled when he stepped on something during the exploration. Kate checked and found it seemed to be the shed skin of some insect, with many more on the surrounding walls. Those who saw the first episode should know these are the beetles that devoured Keiko. Now, the shedding indicates that the insect's exoskeleton can no longer accommodate its growing body. They have undergone new changes. They continued along the destroyed tunnel to the vicinity of the reactor, only to find a bottomless pit at the location. Tim believed Lee's purpose was to destroy these kinds of tunnels. Just then, Duval and his men surrounded them. Lee also stepped out and called Kate into a room, revealing to her the truth about destroying these pits. It turns out that Keiko and Bill were hiding something from Monarch when they passed on the information. These monster-infested pits lead straight to the Earth's interior, an alternate world coexisting with the surface, which they had once entered. And Godzilla is not a mindlessly destructive monster. It does not intend to harm humans. Godzilla is akin to a guardian of order. Godzilla's goal is to keep the monsters in the Earth's core and humans on the surface. Lee's destruction of the tunnels was an attempt to seal off the pathways to the Earth's core. Kate mentioned that after the tunnels were destroyed, the gamma radiation in the other channels increased, but Lee believed these data were Monarch's fabrications. He wouldn't stand idly by like Monarch did during the San Francisco incident. Next, Lee ordered the detonation of the bombs they had installed nearby. However, as everyone was evacuating, an unexpected event occurred. There was a monster guardian in this tunnel too. As the ground shook violently, May slipped and fell into the deep pit. As Kate went forward to rescue May, a monster bristling with fangs appeared in front of her. Fortunately, the debris continuously falling from the ceiling knocked the monster into the pit. Before Kate could recover, her body also slid into the pit. Lee grabbed Kate's hand, but it was too late. They fell into the pit hand in hand. As bombs exploded all around, the deep pit was sealed once again. In 1962, at Monarch Proving Ground in Kansas, the first human exploration of a new world on Earth was about to begin. After Keiko fell into the abyss, her son Hiroshi was sent to a foster home. Before parting, Lee gave Hiroshi a small knife as a keepsake, asking him to keep it safe until he returned from the Earth's core and could return it. This journey to the Earth's core was filled with unknown dangers. Initially, Bill did not recommend Lee to go personally. But, whether due to not saving Keiko or some other reason, Lee insisted on undertaking this perilous mission. This reconnaissance mission to the Earth's core was called the Hourglass Plan. If successful, it would redefine the entire Earth. The method of entry was via a gamma simulator developed by Suzuki Bosch. Due to the highly unstable condition of the tunnel, they could only attract Titan monsters to transport them down. With the gamma simulator activated, a Titan is soon lured from beneath the Earth. As the Titan passes through the tunnel and stabilizes it, the gamma simulator that Lee and the others are traveling in is thrown into it. As everyone awaited the outcome, an accident occurred. An energy burst inside the tunnel created a tornado, destroying everything near the entrance. When everything stopped, the entire tunnel disappeared from sight. This disaster caused numerous casualties, and with the Monarch project unable to identify the root cause, the Defense Department decided to stop funding the Monarch project and instead shift its focus to the moon landing. At least space was a realm understood by NASA. No one knew what could happen at the entrance to the monster world. Fast forward to the present, when May woke up, she found herself in a colorful forest, with colored lightning striking towards her feet. Luckily, Lee appeared and saved May. He took May and dodged all the way out of the area. Lee explained that these were remnants similar to static electricity left after the rifts between the two worlds closed, shooting up from the ground and being extremely dangerous. While searching for Kate, Lee recounted his experience of returning from the Earth's core. When he woke up, he found himself in a lab, with everyone he met wearing radiation suits. Soon after the radiation on his body dissipated, he woke up and asked to see Bill, but after fasting for several days without seeing Bill, Lee was forced to kidnap a nurse as leverage. A man informed Lee that Bill had died and that this was a Monarch rehabilitation center. The man called Lee uncle and took out a pocket knife. He turns out to be Keiko's son Hiroshi. 20 years have passed since Lee entered the Earth's core. After accepting reality, Lee recounted their ordeal. After the cockpit lost control and crashed into a flat area, one companion died on the spot, and the remaining 3 tried to contact the control center while scouting the nearby environment. Then disaster struck. One of their mates is eaten by a giant unidentified creature and the other is struck by lightning shooting upwards from the ground. Lee was also swept into a tunnel opened by a flying monster, and when he regained consciousness, he was back on the Earth's surface. Hiroshi decided to move Lee to a sanatorium for observation and research. He had a completely different view from Lee. For 300,000 years, humans and monsters from 2 worlds coexisted without interfering with each other, until the arrival of the 3 disrupted the balance. Thus, Lee spent several decades peacefully in that sanatorium, until one day, he saw Godzilla appearing in Hawaii to battle another Titan monster on TV. Meanwhile, Monarch HQ was monitoring an anomaly. Whenever Lee detonated an interdimensional portal site, gamma radiation levels at the other 12 channels around the world would rise. But there was one exception: one channel's radiation levels remained stable. When researchers magnified it, they discovered a pattern as if someone was sending them a message. Kate, who had just woken up in the Earth's core, heard a roar approaching, and a wild boar monster covered in fangs approached her. Kate, suppressing her fear and holding her breath, tried to deceive it. Just when she thought she was safe, the boar monster turned back. It was too late for Kate to escape. At that moment, an arrow struck the monster's neck. Kate turned to see her savior. It was her grandmother Keiko, who had been missing for 60 years. Keiko was happy to hear that Lee is coming too. She thinks they are the searchers who detected her signal and came to rescue her. As Keiko led Kate in one direction, she gradually realized from Kate's strange expression that Kate was not sent by Monarch to rescue her. At that moment, May came out from the woods. Seeing Keiko unchanged and Lee hiding behind a tree, he asked her how long she had been here. From Keiko's perspective, she had only fallen into this strange world for 57 days. Thinking she was still in the year 1959, it was only after Lee's explanation that Keiko realized it was due to a space-time distortion effect. Learning from Lee that Bill had long passed away, Keiko was devastated. Kate was finally reunited with her grandmother. Keiko took them to a valley. She found the Gamma simulator launcher outside the cockpit from when Lee had entered before and modified the launch tube to emit directed gamma ray pulse signals. This was the source of the signal received by Monarch. Lee introduced Keiko to the drastic changes in the outside world, leaving her amazed. To return to the surface world, they carried the Gamma simulator launcher toward the site where Lee had initially landed. There was the cockpit left from before. Kate was curious about this world. Keiko explained that this place was also a part of Earth. This world stitched together different homelands and zones like a patchwork quilt. They were probably in a space between the two worlds. Keiko named it the World Axis. However, just as everyone found the cockpit and prepared to leave, Keiko expressed her desire to stay. Her beloved Bill had passed away, and her son had grown up in her absence. She didn't want to suddenly appear and disrupt his life. No matter what the outside world was like, it was no longer her world. But Kate was unwilling to let her grandmother stay. Monsters had already taken everything from her. She didn't want to lose anyone else. Kate finally convinced Keiko. They got into the cockpit and started the Gamma simulator launcher. Lee needed to use it to lure a monster, and the rift opened by the monster would be their way back. Soon, the Ion Dragon attacked the cockpit and severed the connection to the simulator. Ventured out to repair it but was blocked by the Ion Dragon. At that moment, a huge figure appeared in the light, drawing the Ion Dragon away. The king of monsters, Godzilla, made a dazzling appearance, but Godzilla was sneak attacked by the Ion Dragon and bitten harshly on the neck. Godzilla threw the Ion Dragon away, and the spines on its back began to glow. Charging up its signature move, the Ion Dragon sprayed venom, but it was ineffective. Godzilla's atomic breath severely injured the Ion Dragon, then tore it in half with its bare hands and threw it into the rift. At this moment, the rift exerted a strong suction, pulling the cockpit in, but Lee couldn't return in time and stayed in that world.
All right, no, I'm not letting go! Thank you! For everything!
After passing through the channel, they returned to the human world, where a large crowd came to meet them at their landing point. Kate finally reunited with her father. Keiko and her son Hiroshi embraced tightly. Just when everything seemed to be over, an unexpected event occurred. May's boss, Natalia, suddenly appeared, claiming she was the mission's financier. Tim and Kentaro had left Monarch to become her subordinates. Kentaro explained that everything had changed in 2 years. This was Apex's Skull Island research station. Just then, an alarm sounded outside the base. Tim immediately called everyone to evacuate urgently. A massive sound was approaching from afar.